Hello and welcome. This is It's Always About Love, and I'm Lee Evans. I'm here with psychotherapist Lynn Lara. Lynn has been in private practice for many years, and today she brings all of her experience and wisdom to help us. Today we are going to be talking about forsaken parents, and you may ask yourself, who are these forsaken parents? Well, they're men and women who have been rejected or estranged by one or more of their adult children. Second, they are men and women who have gone through a tremendous amount of pain and suffering because of that rejection. But what have they done that is so terrible that they would be kept away from their families, even their grandchildren? Most of them have no idea. And here we are. We're going to start the show. Are you there, Lynn?
I am, Lee. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Lynn. It's
How
good to
are
hear you
you?
doing. I'm good. And how are you after that thunderstorm yesterday?
Boy, it was really something. I'm so sorry that I just cut out. I'd love to hear your letter. I sure would. I'm sorry I wasn't there to hear it, but we had no power at all.
Well, it was a good letter.
I bet it was.
And
Do
I
you
know
want to
that,
read? Do you want to read it real quick?
well, I could read it real quick. It might not be as wonderful as it was yesterday,
Ah,
but
Lee,
I'll
you're
do it
just
again.
great. You're just great.
Okay, it says, My name is Lee Evans. I am a co-host on It's Always About Love podcast, and I work very hard because of my love for our listeners and my admiration for our producer, Lynn Lara. I work every day, well, 5 days a week. I enjoy meeting new people and going to new places and learning new things. I am very spontaneous and I love the outdoors, hiking, and movies and dancing. I would like to mention that I love, love, love waterfalls, and I do. I am tall, 5'6", 145 pounds, give or take, blonde and brown hair on any given day, and enjoy cooking a aromatic, meaty spaghetti and eating my freshly baked apple cake, which I call apple bread. I also want to try baking some chocolate brownies. Boy, that sounds delicious. My idea of a great date can be staying at home with a movie and popcorn. I'll make the popcorn especially for you. Well, that is a little about me. If you are interested, say hello and we will chat. Talk to you soon.
You're right. It's a great letter. You're right, Lee, and I'm so glad I got to hear it. It is a very, very good letter, and you talked a lot about food. That's a good thing to do when you're wanting to meet a man.
I learned that from you.
And did you post it?
I haven't posted it yet. I
Well,
was in the
Lee, no
process.
wonder you haven't heard from anybody. Are you
Right.
gonna post? Are you gonna post it?
Yes, I just found I was working on the website for that because it's Plenty of Fish. That's the one that we gave to the
Yeah.
listeners.
Did you spell fish?
I've got it. Yeah. Yes, I found it. And I found the website. And it's free.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's why I recommend it. Plenty of fish, all one word, but fish is spelled P as in Paul, Hish. So it's Psish. Fish. No. Phish. Plenty of fish.
Right.
Okay, Lee, you could post you could post it right now. No, you don't want to take the time right now. I'm so pleased. That's a good letter, Lee. You're
Thank
right. You told me it was.
thank you.
Ooh, you're going to reel in a good one.
We'll see.
Yep, I hope so. But it sounded like a really nice person. You said you're tall. Lee, you are not tall. You're 5'6". I was 5'10" and I'm 5'9" now. That is tall.
That's true.
You lose, Lee.
Okay.
Okay, listen, I wrote this and I wrote it this morning. I'd like to share it with you. It's going to be one of the chapters in my book. And as I was writing, I thought, I really ought to share this with all of you so that you can hear the pain that the estranged parent goes through. The title of this chapter, and I don't know which chapter number it is, that doesn't matter. The all-encompassing fear of losing your family. And then underneath that in parentheses, and the self-respect you'll give up to keep that from happening. One of the things that happens, I'm not reading right now, but one of the things that happens, I did it, to keep my family from me not having them anymore. I would have given anything up. I would have said anything, acted anyway, and I did. I remember my grandson came out in the middle of the night one night, and I was awake, and I was up. I was standing in the kitchen, and he started acting. Well, he was telling me something about himself, and I thought, I just can't accept this right now. So I sort of acted foolish and just said, "Nice, honey, that was good." And then he laughed. It would have been a time for us to really bond with one another. But I knew that if I did that I was going to be facing being estranged by my family. I did anything to keep from being estranged or rejected by my family, and that would have been by my daughter. So let me read this to you. I read the title, and then I say, there, it's been said. It's all about the title of this chapter, and that is why parental estrangement and rejection survive as they do, and it's the ugliest threat of all. If you do not act as your adult child wants you to act, you will lose your family. In fact, you will no longer have a family. Not only will you lose your family, but you will lose them at a time in your life when everything is different. You may be living alone for the first time in your life because your spouse died, or your own health may be deteriorating as you become older, or you may be more alone than you've ever been due to the fact that your friends and other family members have passed on. Whatever it is that's happening to you, you are more vulnerable now than you have ever been in your life with your family. And your child knows this. They know that it is they who are in control. Yes, you will do anything to keep from being abandoned or rejected by them. So, as you do this, will you please love yourself anyway? I remember thinking as I was allowing my daughter to treat me rudely, rude. I'm so ashamed of her, but rude. But I let her do it because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to lose my family. And that's what we do. And your child knows this. They know that it is they who are in control. Yes, you will do anything to keep from being abandoned or rejected by them. And now the ugly reminder of your own that has become your mantra of truth. One, they know exactly what they're doing to you. Two, they know how frightened you are of living without others, perhaps for the first time in your life. Three, and above all, they know that you'll do anything to keep them from saying the words, "We just don't want you in our lives any longer," or "The kids don't want you to be here any longer." And this is the end result During this phase of your rejection, you'll do whatever it takes to keep them from saying those dreaded and cruel words, anything. But in allowing them to do anything at all to you, in allowing them to speak to you in any manner they want to, you will lose your self-respect. I promise you that you will. So you must make a choice. Are you more frightened of being without your family than you are of losing your self-respect? Next, most of you will give up your self-respect. You can't live with that. What you can't live with is being without them. Please believe me, anyone would choose to give up their self-respect. The choice put before you is overwhelming, and anyone would agree to whatever it takes to keep their family from rejecting them. Anything, anyone. Believe me, I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how rich you are. You will let yourself go in order to keep yourself in your family. And we watch with movie stars who have rejected their mothers or their fathers, and that parent will do anything to get back with them. So please forgive yourself. Continue to love yourself for doing what anyone would do if they were in your place. Be kind to you. You're already carrying enough of a load as you try to juggle what they're doing to you. Don't you add to that load yourself. Just understand that this is a normal part of something that is horrible, and you're losing your self-respect is a normal part of it. Look in the mirror and say to the person who looks back at you and is terribly hurt, because you will be, or you are, honey, you are. It's all part of their ugly game. Look in the mirror and say that to yourself. It's all part of their ugly game, and it doesn't have anything to do with you. You're simply surviving. And this is a note of honesty to you from me. I wish with all my heart that I'd have had these wise words as I went through it. I wish I'd had them to read, but I didn't, and my lack of self-respect made surviving all of this even worse. My gift to you, understand. This is my gift to you. Understand that it is their ugly game, not yours. Your part of this ugly interaction is to understand that it is their ugliness, not yours, babies. Please believe me. And if you're just not able to follow these two statements of truth, then this is the one that will help you to get out of that. Every one of us, all of us, have given up our self-respect in order to keep from being pushed out of our families. Listen, it's normal. Anyone would do it. It's our greatest fear. It's our greatest fear is that our children will no longer want us in their lives. I'm just speaking off the top of my head right now. I'll go back and read again. Are you there, Lee?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How are you doing? What do you think of this so far?
I'm thinking I needed this too. I'm taking notes, of course.
Lee, you were going to take notes after the thing. You forgot your promise.
I know.
That's okay, baby. You don't have to do anything as I read this. So, one more time for you, all of you. no matter how rich we are, no matter how famous we are, no matter how gorgeous or good-looking we are, all of us have given up our self-respect when it comes to keeping ourselves from being abandoned by our families. I don't know if I wrote this. Did I say that Mother Teresa, I'm not sure, I forget if I wrote this or not, but I'm going to say it. And if I wrote it, then you'll just hear it twice. But Mother Teresa said that she worked with people who were laying in those little beds that she had in their hospital that they had, the nuns. And she said they were dying and they knew it. And she said, but there were people who were less fortunate than the people who had come to her hospital to die. And she said, those people are the people who are lonely and who have been rejected. And that's us. We are lonely and we've been rejected. And Pope Francis spoke about it as well. He said that the worst thing that can happen, there are 3 terrible things. One is war. And you know what? I can't remember the second one, but the third one, and I'm going to have to find it because I've got it somewhere. The first one was war, going to war. But the other one, the one that we know, is the adult, the parent who's been rejected. How sad, how sad, how sad. We are one of the 3 worst things that the Pope says. Sorry about the other one, but that's what you get when you get me, but I'll find it. Is those of us who have been rejected by our children. Oh, dear God, dear God. My heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to Lee. My heart goes out to me. And the only gift in this about me is that because it happened to me, I write about it. I have this podcast. I have videos on YouTube. I'll do anything I can to put an end to this. Lee and I are going to be doing something new in the near future. But one more time, I'm going back to reading the book. I've been just telling you all that off the top of my head. One more time, no matter how rich we are, no matter how famous we are, no matter how gorgeous or good-looking we are, all of us have given up our self-respect when it comes to keeping ourselves from being abandoned by our families. And then I said, P.S. Why haven't we known this before? That's a question. Why haven't we known this before? Because people are too ashamed to let anyone know, just like we are. I'll tell you what, therapists don't tell you that they've been rejected by their children, and I do. It was hard in the beginning, and I'm on the top of my head again. I'm just talking. I probably need to write all this in this book. But I felt ashamed in the beginning, and I thought, how can I tell you? I don't want to. And then I went, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I know damn well that I was a good mother. I was. So what should I be ashamed of? Nothing. It's my daughter or your son or your daughter who ought to be ashamed, not us. We were good parents. But in doing anything, I'm back in the book now, we lose our self-respect. Your daughter or son is now able to speak with disrespect to you for the first time in their life, and they do it. Why? Because they can. It gives them a measure of perverse pleasure, and they are not nice people. Dear God, I never thought I'd say that about my daughter, but I'm on the top of my head again. How can I tell you that she's a nice person when she has been horrible to me? She is not a nice person. The fear of losing your family, I'm back with the book now, is always present when parental estrangement is concerned. I didn't know my daughter knew its strength, and I didn't know that she knew my fear of it, but she did. Foolish me. I thought I would be her mother, the guiding light in her life, forever. But it only took 10 sentences or so from her to remove it, never to return. And in that I'm talking about me being an important part of my own family. A rule I'd had for 10 years at that point was exposed and then wadded up, and it would never return. Here is how it happened. She seemed different. She had changed, and I thought she'd like to know of my insights about this new behavior she was exhibiting. I'd always told her my wisdom before. She would certainly have wanted to know in the past, so I said it. Honey, you've changed. Are you aware of how different you are? You seem sort of cold. Maybe this will make what I'm trying to say more clear. You seem like you're in control of everything. That might make your marriage hard with your husband. Don't you think so? And this was my precious child's response. Don't you ever speak to me like that again. I'm just fine the way I am, and I don't need you to tell me what is good and what isn't good about me or about my marriage. I swear to you, Mother, if you say anything like this again, then I won't see you anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? Oh, I promise you those are the words that were said to me. And you bet that I understood. I was being given the ultimate threat, and it's what all of us fear the most. For if it comes true, then many of us believe that we have nothing left in life. And this is what her ultimate threat said in truth. If I tried to interfere in her life, I would no longer be a part of her life. But to lose the joy of having my grandchildren was beyond anything I was willing to sacrifice back then or at any other time. Lee, how much time do I have left, honey?
A little over 6 minutes.
Okay. Are you still there and are you okay?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And I'm listening.
Okay. I'm not used to not doing the program without playing and having a good time with you. This is not about playing and having a good time. And I hope for all of you who are listening that you have compassion and caring for yourselves if you are an estranged parent, or for other parents who are estranged. This is a horrible, horrible thing. The Pope said it. Mother Teresa said it. People of wisdom understand that it's horrible. When this whole sordid affair started, I'm back reading the book again. I was shocked at this new person my daughter had become. I don't think it was just me who saw what was happening. She was a jazzercise instructor, and she worked for a woman named Sarah. All of a sudden, my daughter and Sarah were having problems working together. Mom, she confided to me, it's not the same as it used to be. I don't think she likes the way I am anymore, and I know I don't like her. I have a lot of students in my classes. I don't want her to think she can run what I'm doing. And I understand what that woman that she had the jazzercise classes for was feeling. I understand what she managed. I don't know what that word is. Sorry. What was happening with her by simply leaving her alone. And that's how I managed this new way of my daughter. I became agreeable to things I very much did not agree with. Sorry, I'm going to have to, something happened to that paragraph, but it's okay because this is true. I became agreeable to things I very much did not agree with, and I would have done anything in order to keep my relationship with my daughter and thus my family intact. But what about my self-respect? This is hard to confide, but it was non-existent. I felt less than in my daughter's home, and my feelings were actual. I was less than in my daughter's home. Her husband must have loved it, for it was precisely what he had wanted when all of this began. And it worked. I had no control, and I was belittled. Who was this person that I raised? Not someone I liked, not at all. I finally put up my ultimate response. I left my practice, and I took off for areas where the weather was warm. My daughter might disagree, but I know I told her I was leaving before I left. She said I didn't. Lonely, lonely, lonely. I have never in my life been that lonely. I left so that I could bring my self-respect back, and I became so lonely. I remember being in the middle of a large park in Utah. The beauty was something I'd never before seen. I remember getting out of my vehicle and standing in the middle of the road, taking all of it in, but there was no one to share it with. No one could agree that it was just about the most beautiful thing they'd ever seen. The beauty that surrounded me turned ugly. It was cold. And I said to my daughter, in my mind, something is different about you. You're not the same, and I'm concerned. So sad. You know what is best, and this isn't best for you at all. You do understand the threat that was used against me, don't you? In case you missed it, it was the "you will never see your family again" threat, and it worked. Of course it did. And she had that kind of power and even support from her husband. I sat without moving. I was numb. My daughter had never spoken to me that way before. But the actual most important point was that I didn't want to lose my family, and I would do anything to keep that from happening. I'm the parent of an only child. Would it be different if I'd had more children? Too late to think of it. But I've asked other mothers. Some say yes, it would be easier, and some say no. It's frightening and hard, whether you have one child or, if you can imagine, 5 children. My point is that it's terribly painful no matter what. And my point is that I learned my lessons quickly and never said anything with that level of motherly concern again. Perhaps I have come to think of it as the time I forfeited my motherly rights. They weren't wanted, my motherly rights. and obviously they were no longer needed. My daughter had chosen to go her own way. But I came to find out that she had assumed parental rights over me, and they were not nice. Her version of having control over me was harsh and judgmental. Here they are. These are just things that happened. You'd better hold on to your money, Mother, because there will be none for you here if you spend yours. Now, I had never in my life asked her for money. It was something I never needed. And this said, as I stood holding a check, when I heard those words from her, I had a check in my hand for almost $300,000. I'd received it from the mortgage company when I sold my own house. I also didn't see how she and her husband could possibly have plotted to admonish me. With this one, no one was expecting me that day to come in with a check for $300,000. I had simply shown up with a very large check that made me very happy. But the reason I was there was so I could talk with my son-in-law about what I wanted to do with the money if something happened to me. Of course, I wanted to go to my grandchildren for their future education, but I believe that my daughter didn't want to see me successful. How then would she look down on me in this new controlling role she had taken? And frankly, I don't think she was very good at it. And then anyway, if she treated her subordinates at work the way she was treating me, she would have been seen as a lousy boss. So why did she do it? I was there to offer a great deal of money to my family should something happen to me. There was no happiness at what I offered, although my son-in-law was eager to help me set it up. He and his greed, and no thanks attached to it, not even. He believed that he had a right to whatever I gave, with no thanks, not ever. He was above a thank you. And pardon me, sir, your slip is showing. And I'm going to end that here, because it feels to me like I've probably read through all of the time, but I want you to hear me saying, with parental estrangement, you are a forsaken parent, and you will give up your power, and you will lose your self-respect. You can't have power. Your adult child who is rejecting you, usurps all of the power. It's so sad, but that's what's happening. We've got to have compassion for one another and not judge. We've got to. Lee and I are going to do something in the near future where we're helping put a stop to it. I don't think it can be done by you and your daughter coming into counseling. I'm a therapist, and if I could, I would, but I don't really think that's going to be what's going to happen. I think we need to change the way our society sees the older person. And with saying that, the older person must reclaim their strength and be a person that is wanted. Okay. Lee, are you there? What do you think about all this?
Wow, that was a lot of information. Um, there's a lot of things to think. That I was thinking, wow, this is really good. The writing, what you wrote, I was very absorbed. And I think that when you get done with your book, well, honestly, I think this is a good thing. You reading it in your own voice, I think is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
and
I
the
want to
things
do
you
that.
add, yeah, the things you add in there. And I find it very helpful because some of the things you mentioned, I also have considered and didn't really know which direction to go because, as you said, we'll do anything to be part of the family, to stay in somehow, whatever we can do. And so, yes, it was very helpful. Thank you.
Mm, it's sad. Who have, did you expect, Lee, you, women and men who are listening to us, did you expect to be treated with such low respect
No,
by your daughter or your son?
no.
It's the last thing we expected, huh, Lee?
Yes. In fact, I was talking to someone yesterday that's going through the same thing, and we were saying how we had known of someone that had displayed all the evidence that this would probably happen to them. Okay? But lo and behold, their family's intact, everyone's together enjoying themselves, and it happened to us.
Hmm.
You know, what happened, like you said, did we see this in our future? No,
No.
no, not at all.
Last thing we expected.
Very last thing. Yes.
You're bringing something up. When I tell old friends out of my past who knew my daughter when, we've been friends for years and years, I'll say, well, Kim has rejected me. And the first thing I hear is, well, my children didn't do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right.
good. I'm glad they didn't, honey. But it happened to me. And it's somehow, it is a parent's greatest fear. And what they do right away is assure themselves that it didn't happen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a disease. Sad.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying how awful, how terrible that must be, so hard on you, they say, well, it didn't happen to me. And it's happened again and again. And I go, that is the strangest. Uh, and it can happen to them. It's not over yet, but
That's right. I agree.
hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Just hasn't happened yet.
Yep. Or maybe it never will. I hope it doesn't.
That's true too. Yes. Well, we've come to the end of our time, but this has really been good. If you have a comment or a question, send it to its always about love, the number one at gmail.com. We will be back on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll see you next week. But until then, remember, it's always about love.
Let
And
me let me
go ahead.
let me say one thing. I miss you on the weekends, Lee, and I miss the rest of you. I'm not suggesting that we do this 7 days a week, but I do want to let you know, Lee, I miss you. I go, where's Lee? I wonder how she is. So I pick up the phone and I call you. But I'm just telling you that. Just wanted to say it because it's who I am.
Thank you. I was going to say, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to change my
Ha!
online dating profile letter.
That's funny.
We love you
Lee,
all.
post that letter.
Okay, I
Come
will.
on, it's a good letter.
Oh,
We
thank
want to have good news on Monday.
Okay. Well, good night, everyone, and have an awesome week. We'll see you Monday. Bye bye.